Sometimes people say to me, when you have an objection, how do you leave gracefully? Well, first and foremost, you have to question the objection. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people say that, the toughest objection, of course, everybody thinks is, I want to think about it. And I've already told you how to get around that. You deal with that at the beginning of the presentation. You say, there's three things that are going to happen today. You're going to say yes. Yes. You're going to say no. Yes. You're going to say, I want to think about it. And Bob, let's agree to something let's don't say that, because here's the problem with I want to think about it. What it really means is either you didn't understand it, or you're being polite and saying no, or there's somebody else that you're going to talk to. And if that's the case, Bob, I would like to be the last one to come in and talk to you, not the first one. Yes. And that a lot of times eliminates the, I want to think about it. Right? Not that it won't come back up later, but you remind the individual that, listen, we've already went through this, and again, you ask them point blank, when you're doing that at the beginning, is there somebody else you're going to talk to? And a lot of times they'll tell you the truth. And if there is, be willing to leave. Yes. Now, what about pivoting the objection? I've done that on several occasions, but a lot of agents don't understand what that means. Well, if you're going to pivot into a different sales genre, a lot of times it's just by asking the right question and when, right? If you're selling Medicare and you want to figure out how to get them into something else or talk about something else, you have to ask a question. If you want to talk about Social Security while you're talking about Medicare, it's simple. You just say, listen, let me ask you a quick question. When are you going to take your Social Security? Or more, better yet, do you know when you should take your Social Security? Right? And of course, the answer to that is, when are you going to die? And if they don't know that, then you most certainly can't tell them what to do. Yes? Or how to get there, or when to start. Yes? So a lot of times I tell people that's the way that works out. Yes. Now, what about the circumstance where you would get somebody who says to you, they say, well, I just don't think, this is for me. I think I'm going to go a different direction. I think that, I've got other investments in other places, and I think that'll suffice. The easiest way to get into that and make that stick and do a little bit more about it is to say, well, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's look at that for a second. And then you're going to open up the conversation now, because you've rekindled the thought. Yes. And what I mean by that is, you say, like, if somebody, you're trying to do the BLP and somebody said, well, we've got, this is a true, honest thing that happened. A guy said, well, I've got gold buried in my yard and my son knows where that is. I said, well, let's talk about that for a minute. How much is gold worth today? Did you realize there's a 28% capital gains on gold? No, there isn't. Well, sure, wait a minute. Let's Google that. And I'll Google it right in front of him, and most certainly is a 28% capital gains. I said, why would your son dig up the yard and sell the gold and and it's going to cost him 30% to use it when a BLP don't cost him nothing? You see how I pivoted that and made him understand that you're going to give him 30% money instead of 0% to use it? See, it's all about pivoting the objection to solve the problem. Yes?